recording. And I am so excited to introduce you guys to Jessica again. Jessica is the owner of J Mills Consulting, where her mission is to help entrepreneurs build better businesses. She does this through strategic action, collaboration, and getting things done in real time every time. Jessica has been working in an operational, administrative, and leadership capacity for almost 20 years and has received her master's degree in coaching and administration. This is a skill set and passion she has sustained through her working life in various industries. Jessica is beyond grateful for the opportunity to make real impact in these business owners' lives through the services she provides. Personally, Jessica is from Vermont and has lived in DC, Los Angeles, and is now happy to call Colorado home. And we're happy she does too. She and her husband Joshua are happily child-free with two crazy kitties and that bring their lives so much joy. They can often be found paddling, biking, reading, cooking, movie-going, and traveling. That said, I'm so excited to hand the reins over to you, Jess.
Yay, I forgot I was getting introduced. I have an about me slide that will be a little
Oh,
redundant, so I'll
okay.
steam through that. Yay. Okay, let me share screen and we'll jump right in. Okay, superb. Can everyone see? Okay. I can't see everyone, so if you guys have any questions along the way, like please feel free to unmute and holler and ask away.
I'll watch
So
the chat for you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I said I'll watch the chat for you as well, and I'll stop you if
Sure.
anything feels.
Yes, super. Thank you so much. Okay, so yay, welcome to Mapping Success, Mastering the 5 Key Steps of Your Client Journey. I can't wait to dive into this component with you guys today. As kind of Lizzie did the wonderful introduction, just a little snippet about me. Born and raised in Vermont. I lived in DC for 3 years, worked for an international nonprofit there. It was my first real job. Then I moved to Los Angeles because I was a sun chasing gal and was there for about 9 years. And then we were a pandemic move. So my husband got laid off in the early pandemic and I was ready to leave LA. And I was like, hey, let's check out Colorado. Let's check out Portland, Austin, Seattle, whatever. And Josh got a job in Denver. So we moved to Denver in, well, Broomfield in September 2020. And honestly, this move has changed my life. Like, I have really found my people, found my community, found my purpose, my calling, all the things in this space. So that's been like a really beautiful, like, thing personally for me. As a journalism and creative writing major, and then master's in coaching and athletic administration, technically athletic administration, because I used to want to be like an athletic director for a high school or college program. But in LA, it's very difficult to break into that space. So I ended up pivoting, becoming a director of operations for a private swim school, and then kind of that sort of catapulted my director of operations, etc. route. And then I've been in operations admin leadership management for about 20 years in just a bunch of different industries. And that's really my natural skill set. So I feel very fortunate to be able to couple that with helping other entrepreneurs build a better business. And then I started JMC in January 2021. So I'm in my 4th year and we're just kind of rocking and rolling. So as a business consultant and strategist, really I focus on, like I said, the business foundation, business fundamentals, and internal structure. And I base that work on the 5 pillars of your business foundation. These are my 5 pillars, obviously. So pillar number 1 is your business identity. Who you are, what you're about, where you're going as a business, what at the heart of what you do, like what is that? What are you trying to achieve? What is the impact you're trying to make? Pillar number 2 is the client journey, client experience. We're going to get more in depth in that today. Pillar number 3 is business systems and organization. So this is not necessarily software. It's really more about your internal structure, your processes, your procedures, how your business actually operates and functions on a logistical level, and all the things that are in place in that space. Pillar number 4 is about team growth. Really more, again, internal structure. What role are you trying to fill? Hiring and training manuals, employee handbooks, contractor welcome packets, really the things that should be in place, resources that should be in place to help you grow your team successfully. And then the last one is really geared towards strategic planning. So it's like, okay, great. What are your big picture goals for the next year or two? How can we work backwards, break those down, make them manageable, make them achievable? So really those 5 pillars are what I focus my work around. So let's dive into pillar number 2. And I love to start with this stat. There's a couple stats here. So PricewaterhouseCoopers found that 86% of buyers are willing to pay more for a great customer experience. Stat number 1, 86% of buyers, you guys. Stat number 2, studies have also shown that businesses focusing on customer experience can see revenues grow 4 to 8% above the market average. Those are really high percentages. Like, what do those stats tell you? Those stats tell you that clients really want to be valued. They want to be appreciated. They want to be seen, heard, and they're willing to pay more for an exceptional experience. So just kind of keeping that in mind, right? So as service-based providers, your clients are your greatest asset, right? We all know that, like, you really want to keep that in mind. And so as such, if your clients are your greatest asset, their experience with you must be flawless. So you want to really start thinking about, what is my client experience? What is my client journey, start to finish? So there are 2 main threads that we're going to kind of focus on today, right? So thread number 1 is really operational efficiency, back-end logistics. What are the things that need to be in place behind the scenes to make the client experience smooth and seamless and efficient? But on the flip side, how do your clients feel while they're working with you? So I want you to understand that it's really kind of a symbiotic relationship. Yes, the logistics and the operations behind the scenes matter a lot, but any changes you make, anything you do back here absolutely impacts the front. So just keeping that in mind whenever you're making any changes. So, questions to consider kind of as we move along and just for thought after. Do they feel confident in your expertise? How are you demonstrating that you are an expert in your field, that you are a thought leader, that you are an industry expert? How do they know that you can solve their problem, right? How are you articulating that? Do they feel supported and understood? So again, kind of similarly to, what is your area of expertise? What are their pain points? How are you listening to their needs and then helping to solve and deliver what they're looking for? This one is really important. Are you communicating effectively? There are a lot of different ways that you can communicate and connect with clients. Are you texting? Are you emailing? What's automated? What's a personal touch? How much are you doing, like, video or Zoom or phone call? Or, like, what are the communication points within your business when it comes to your client experience? And is it intentional? Is it exceptional? Is it effective, right? Do they know what the expectations and timelines are? So yes, they're hiring you, right? I'm needing help in this space. Here's what I'm hoping to deliver, receive, have success with. What are the expectations? Are those being set? Are those being managed? What are the timelines for some of these deliverables? Are there certain benchmarks that are being set? So just kind of really making sure that you're communicating expectations and timelines up front and along the way as things shift. And then in general, like, is the experience seamless? Are there any hiccups? Are there places where you feel like, yeah, I feel like my consultation is really strong, or I feel like my onboarding is really strong. Maybe my renewal process or my offboarding is a little bit weaker. How can I improve that, right? So just kind of thinking about your experience as a whole. And then the last one is, how are they being valued and appreciated? How are you showing them that you really value them as an asset, right? Like, are you paying attention to certain things going on in their lives? Are you sending little, gifts or cards or notes, or, like, what does that component look like in your current experience? And how could it maybe be improved? So really what you're doing in this space is you're trying to balance operational efficiency with an intentional focus on client experience. Balancing operational efficiency with an intentional focus on client experience. What this does is it builds trust, satisfaction, and loyalty with your clients and customers. So, what's the client journey actually, right? This is the process through which your clients and customers experience working with you or buying from you, start to finish. So, how they find you, all the way through offboarding. How can you really look at that scope and figure out what's working well, what can be improved? So, the five main sections we're going to talk through today: how they find you, consultation, onboarding, expectations and progression, and renewal and offboarding. It's going to be a little high level, a little quick and dirty, but my hope is that you get at least a takeaway in each section that you can apply almost immediately later. So, how they find you. This is really speaking to your visibility strategies. We all have a bunch of different ways that we're out in the world, that we're promoting ourselves, that we're marketing ourselves, all the things, right? What I would encourage you to do is to get it out on paper, right? Where are you showing up? How are you spending your time, energy, and money? And then what is your objective in each space? I'm showing up here because I'm trying to build relationships. I'm doing this because I want to educate and inform. I'm showing up here because it's great for building referral partners or getting speaking engagements. I'm showing up in this way because I'm trying to generate leads, right? So really understanding where you're visible and what the objective is for each of those spaces. And then are you seeing the ROI? Because sometimes we'll spread ourselves really thin in this space, and maybe we can pull back and scale back and be a little bit tighter about where we're spending our time, energy, and money. And then thinking about social media and website, right? Are they easy to use? Is it easy to quickly see who you are, what you do, and how you help? And then take that next step. If they're like, oh my God, yes, I need this. I need Lizzie to help me with my website. Can I schedule a consultation? Can I schedule a next step conversation? How easy is it for somebody to take that next step with you, right? So then we're thinking about the consultation process, right? This is a potential client's first impression to what working with you is going to look like. So you really want to show up. You really want to bring your A game. And I break this piece down into four different components. So it's booking, intake form, actual flow, and follow up. So, booking, pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Do you have a calendar? Do you have a scheduling link? And is it visible? Is it in your email signature? Is it in your socials platforms? Do you have a link tree? Is it easy to navigate and find on your website, right? Like, just how easy is it for them to take that next step? And then thinking about reminders and automations, and not just necessarily relying on the software system to do that for you. Like, go in the back, find the automations, find the reminders, and can you personalize them? Can you make them sound more like you and not just like template, boilerplate, hey, can't wait for our meeting? How can you kind of zhuzh it? You know what I mean? And then thinking about your intake form. The purpose of an intake form is to help you identify qualified leads. Qualified leads. Okay, so really what that means is you want to be really intentional with like what 3, 5, maybe 8 questions do you want to ask this person ahead of time before they book the call with you, before you have the consultation, that's going to help you identify, is this person a right fit? Can I help this person with what they're looking for? And what that does for them, they start to pay attention to the questions that you're asking, and it helps them understand, is this the right person for me? Am I ready to take this the next step? Am I seriously interested in having this person, this expert, take me to the next level, etc.? So sometimes it feels counterintuitive because you're like, oh my gosh, what if it's a barrier to entry? You want it to be a barrier to entry. You don't want everybody booking a call all the time. Your time is precious, your time is finite. So you want to make sure that people that are booking these calls with you are serious, are qualified leads, and your intake form is one way to do that. So yes, doing that, the purpose of, and just being intentional about what you're asking on it. So then we're in the actual flow, right? How do you structure your calls? Are there 1 or 2 questions that you always want to make sure to ask, right? Having them talk through their pain points. Here's how our work together looks. I always end a call. Are you a hell yes? Or do you want to think about it? Like, you want them to be a hell yes. You want them to be fucking psyched about working with you. So really thinking about, what does my actual consultation flow look like? How can you end a little bit more finite and understanding where they are in that space? And then always coming from a place of service. I always will give one or two like immediate action items on a consultation, even if they're not the right fit, even if I know that they're probably not going to move forward, because they're going to remember that. And they're going to be like, oh, wow, like I didn't move forward with this person, but they gave me some really helpful info. And then that could be a word of mouth referral in the future. So always coming back to a place of service. Then we're in follow up, right? So everyone's going to fall in the yes, no, maybe spectrum somewhere. So you want to have a follow up process for each of these spaces. So if it's a no, right, and that's totally fine, your calendar booking system is probably going to have an automation. Pretty much what mine says is thank you for your time. It was great chatting with you. If appropriate, next step information will be along shortly. Otherwise, feel free to reach out in the future. What that does is that's an automation. If they were a no, great, cool, great to meet you, be on your way. If we got off the call and they were like a hell yes, or I need to think about it, they know that more information is coming and to expect that. If they're a maybe, have a template. Here's a quick blurb about what we talked about. Here's what I heard. Here's a quick one or two things of the ways that I can help you. Template that out, then you can customize it based on the conversation. And if there are yes, you're going to move into onboarding, right? So you're going to talk about scope of work, an agreement or a proposal, invoice, things like that. You're going to move into the onboarding space. Everyone still with me? Okay, super. So the onboarding process, really what I want you to think about here is how can you seamlessly and effortlessly and successfully set this person up in your business. Again, you're the expert, you're the guide, you need to lead them. So you want to have potentially a welcome email or a next steps email. Hey, great, super excited to work with you. Here are your next steps. Here's what I need to get started. Whatever that looks like for you. Maybe that's collecting information, right? Maybe that's giving them information, right? So it's kind of a two-step process. What information do you need to provide? What information do you need to collect? That's usually what the onboarding process looks like. And then I always recommend setting up a checklist here because it's usually a lot of back end nitty gritty things. And then again, thinking about client appreciation, client value, can you send them a welcome card? Can you send them a small gift? Maybe that depends on the package that they buy from you, right? Oh, if they get this or this package, I do this. If they get this or this package, I do this. You can kind of set parameters or boundaries around some of this stuff. But again, setting the tone for the relationship. Okay, setting expectations and client progression. Really, what I want to say here is that, especially if we're service-based businesses, which I think everybody on here is, um, you are entering into a relationship. So yes, they're bringing you on because they have certain pain points, they have certain desired outcomes. You are expected to deliver X, Y, or Z. Yes, that's true. But in order to do your job well, what do you need from them? What do they need to send you? What do they need to provide you? And let me give you a couple examples. A couple examples that I worked with a bookkeeper. Her expectations of her clients were I need every client to download my QuickBooks Online app. I need them to upload every single business receipt. I need them to send me their financial reports by the 5th of every month. Those were her three expectations in order to successfully move forward with her clients. I worked with a social media marketing gal. Her expectations were pretty much I need my clients to schedule their monthly meetings every month, and I need them to submit their content and images to me by the 15th of every month. So it doesn't have to be like a lot, but just thinking about like how does my business operate? How do I measure success? What are my deliverables? And in order to do my job well, what do I need them to commit to? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. And then also thinking about, again, I'm really big into like gifts or thoughtful appreciation. I just want to be clear, like it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. It doesn't have to break the bank. Like really make it whatever your budget is realistically, even if that's a card, even if that's a text. So paying attention to what's going on in your clients' lives personally. What's happening for them? What's going on for them? This will depend a little bit about the longevity of your relationship. This will depend a little bit on, the the frequency of your relationship. So there are some variables based on your service offering, of course, but really trying to pay attention. So for example, I had a client turn 50 last month. I sent her flowers. 50 is a big birthday, right? I had a client who her daughter had prom this weekend, and I know it was an emotional time for her. So I sent her a text this morning. Hey, how was prom? Right? Like those can be like flowers. That's something that costs money. But the text, a thoughtful text, was very easy and simple and quick to do. So just how can you pay attention to what's happening in your clients' lives personally, and how can you continue to show up for them in whatever way makes sense? Okay, client renewals. So this is less for people that maybe have a monthly subscription and more for people that have like a 6-month program or a year-long program or something like that. Really, what I want to say about the renewals process is um, what are you communicating? How are you communicating? What is that dialogue? Are there changes that need to be conveyed? Um, how are you communicating some of these changes? And do you have the capacity to maybe have a 20-minute or 30-minute call prior to the renewal ending? So I had a client, she had a year-long program. She wasn't really doing much for renewal. So we built in an 11-month check-in. Hey, I wanted to check in. Here's a questionnaire. If you're interested in what the next year could look like, let's schedule a 30-minute call and let's talk about how this last 6 or 12 months went for you, what went well, what maybe didn't go as expected, and what would the next 6 or 12 months look like for you. So if you have a program like that, think about how you could potentially enhance client investment, enhance client experience and appreciation by kind of leveling up just one more time. Can we schedule a call? Can we talk about how things went? Can we talk about what the next round might look like for you? And then offboarding. Inevitably, clients will move on. That's just the nature of the game. So, how can you offboard successfully? And obviously, you can take a look at your onboarding and logistically reverse most of that, right? Removing access, maybe changing client tags, putting them in a past client email sequence if you have one of those. So, whatever kind of logistical back end things need to happen. And then I have an exit email template. So anytime a client is finished up with me, I copy paste my template, I customize it. And this is where I'm asking for, referrals or reviews or testimonials, something that's, just helpful for me. We're all small business owners. We know testimonials and reviews are really helpful. And what I find is that most people want to leave a testimonial, they just don't always know what to say. So if you can provide one or two or maybe three prompting questions, sometimes that helps get them started into like, oh yeah, okay, let me just like start here. Gives them like a jumping off point, and maybe they'll be more inclined to leave something. And then again, a thank you card or a thank you gift of some kind, just a small touch point, just saying, hey, I really appreciated our work together. Thank you so much. Keep me in mind for future, referrals or whatever. And again, a checklist here would probably be really helpful because it's again a lot of nitty-gritty back end stuff. So, key takeaways, because it was kind of a lot of stuff. So, a couple components of each section. So, the visibility strategy, the how they find you component, write out where you're spending your time, energy, and money. What are the objectives for each space? Is it working? Do you need to make any changes? Consultation process, make sure you have that booking link, make sure it's visible in as many spaces as you can make it, and make sure you have at least a few questions on an intake form. For the onboarding process, I would recommend going through it, creating a checklist for all the required elements so that you can seamlessly and successfully set somebody up. If you want to maybe create even like an onboarding next steps email template, that would be a bonus. Expectations. So really, I think understanding what you really need your clients to commit to be successful on your end, and making sure that you're then communicating that in your consultations, in your onboarding, in all of those communications. And then renewal offboarding, create that exit email templates and maybe create a checklist for here's how I successfully offboard something. And whether you store this information in Google Drive, you can just start like a doc. Here's where my SOP docs live. Whatever's going to be easy and convenient for you to kind of keep track of all these things as you start to develop basically a resource center for yourself. Um, and then kind of just remembering, right? Like your client journey, your client experience, it's more than a workflow, it's more than sales, it's more than marketing. It is really the story of how people experience your business. So you want to continue to think about how can I make this exceptional? How can I show them appreciation? How can I really step up and stand out? So, this is me. All my contact details, all my info. If we're not connected yet, I'd love to be. I do a twice a month newsletter list. It's full of education, information, inspiration stuff. It's not salesy or spammy, so we're welcome to join that. And if any of this resonated, or if any of the other 5 pillars, 4 pillars resonated, I love this work. This work is really powerful and it matters a lot. So I would love to chat with you, have a consultation if I can be of help. Does anybody have questions, thoughts, ideas, feedback?
Go for it, Katie.
Yeah, I just wanted to share. I've been working with Jess for I don't know how long, but months on my onboarding and offboarding and all of that. And the quality of my connection with my clients has gone up dramatically because I was so lost in the details, even though I had checklists and things like that. So we went through the flow of my client journey, and my experience that my clients are having right now is phenomenal. And like I had a client whose kitty passed away, and now I have a system where I can get them a card and they feel my love because I have it, and I always loved them, but I was just too bogged down in the details. So now that things are automated and streamlined, it's freaking amazing. So thanks, Jess.
Hey, you're welcome. I love hearing that. Way to go, Kitty.
Kitty, may I send this snippet of the video to Jess to use for her socials and stuff? Okay, cool. You
Oh
just
my
got a
God.
testimonial video. Hey, there we go.
Any,
I would
yeah.
also say
I have a
that
question.
Jess is, oh, I'm so sorry. So I'm talking over you, Tanika. I'll just say this and then I'll hand it off to you next. That her newsletter is my gold standard, is the bar that I am trying to meet with my own newsletter. She writes a great newsletter. So genuinely, I would recommend that. And I also just love, I was looking at my notes. I have 9 things I want to go do after this call. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
so good. Instead of just like high level, like I learned stuff, it's like, no, I'm going to go do stuff. And that feels great.
Yes.
So
Getting it done real time, every
yes,
time,
love
baby.
it. Thank you very much. Tanika, thank you. Go for it.
So love all your stuff. You know that this isn't technically anything you touch on. I'm just curious from you. Like, are you using any kind of AI support with your client, with your own business? I guess I'd be curious. And then with your clients, or I guess I struggle with AI. Like, I align with you saying like how important the relationship focus is. Like, these are people, especially, you know what I do. I mean, it's their baby, right? And I also want to make my life easier when I can. So I'm just curious on where and if you do, how you see like AI showing up the best and still being able to maintain that relationship part.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's one that I've been thinking about a lot. So I don't use AI specifically regarding my client experience per se. I mostly use it to help me come up with like content ideas. Like if I'm having I'm like blank on like what am I writing about? What am I talking about? Like it helps jog some insights. So I really use it more for content creation. I do use it to sometimes help me with like webinar creation or things like that. But in terms of the client experience, I do utilize automations. I do have workflows, but I am very particular about reviewing every automation. Does this sound like me? Does this sound like a template? Does this sound like a boilerplate? I really try to customize it so it sounds like my voice whenever I'm using automations and workflows. And so I use Calendly as my booking system. And like I have a 12-month strategic planning program. That's my 1 year long program. Everything else is project based. But in that, I have 2 workflows. So one of them is when they sign up, I send out like an onboarding questionnaire, but like I create that email, I create that dialogue, I set up the questionnaire, all that, but that is now automated and taken care of, but it still sounds like me. And then anytime we have our quarterly reviews, I have set up an automation for that to go out after the fact. Hey, it's been 3 months, we're 3 months in, whatever. How has the first quarter felt? How has this quarter felt? Like, again, very personalized, even though it is an automation. Does that answer your question?
Okay. Definitely. Yeah. It's for me, it's that double-edged sword of like, these are,
Yes.
I recently got into like template email responses that I
Yes.
created. Like there's still my voice and like all of that.
Yes.
But when I realized I was writing the same thing like over and over,
Correct.
I know there are ways to do it where it's still me, but I'm like such a goody two shoes. Like I don't know if it's the ethics of like English teacher and plagiarism and whatever,
Yes.
but I want it to be authentic. But yeah, that's a great answer.
I would say also, like, if you are like, I have a lot of different templates. I have written them. I created them, but I use them as templates. So if you're finding that you're repeating yourself often, you're answering the same questions often, make those a template, and then you can copy paste or import or whatever it is the system that you're using. So there's nothing wrong with templates, especially if you're like sending similar responses every time.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, Nancy.
Yes. Oh, well, I'm unmuted. Okay. I just wanted to say that I got a big aha. It was very exciting that
Great.
about like where you show up. I
Yes.
never thought of until you mentioned it that there's an objective for each one
Yes.
of those. And I think that's going to really help me
Good.
about where I show up with my time. It was
Yes.
just such a simple thought, but it was really huge for me.
Good. I'm so glad. I'm so, so glad.
Objective for each one of those, why I'm choosing. Like,
Correct.
do I want another networking Zoom group or do I need to spend my time doing something else? What's the objective?
Exactly. Exactly. Because I always say time is finite. Time is a resource that we have very, like a finite amount of. So, like, really being strategic and intentional with how you're using it and where you're showing up. So, I'm so glad that that
Thank
was a great aha moment for you.
Yes.